The much anticipated rematch between Anthony Joshua and Alexander Usyk 2 is just days away from us. So obviously by the title you guys can see this is going to be my keys to victory. Some might call it my preview for the fight. Now with heavyweights it's often very difficult to do a breakdown of how, I think the fighters will approach the fight, what they should do and what they will do, because my whole prediction is predicated off certain assumptions. For example, I expect Joshua, if not to maintain his weight, come slightly lighter, and I expect Usyk to actually come in a little bit heavier. Amir Khan said something like Usyk is 15 kgs heavier. That can't be right. Maybe he meant 15 pounds, which would still be a lot of weight if he were to come 15 pounds heavier. So I'm not quite sure about that, though he does look a little bit bigger and looks like he's filled out his frame a little bit more. So for Anthony Joshua, I'm expecting him to come in at least 240 pounds. Sorry, at heaviest 240 pounds, and at least maybe 237, 238 pounds. In comparison to Usyk, I think Usyk will come in the mid 220s for this fight. So maybe like 225, 226. Now with Anthony Joshua trying to come in lighter for the rematch against Usyk, it's actually not to box, but it's actually to sustain a high level, a high pace of pressure fighting. When we seen Anthony Joshua come in light in the rematch against Andy Ruiz Jr., it was so he could box on the back foot. It was so that he was light on his feet and that he could move around the ring. But I actually think Anthony Joshua needs to come in slightly lighter, not like 235 where he's a bit too skinny, a bit too small. I'm talking about 239, maybe 238, which is 1-2 pounds lighter. So his body is able to sustain the high pressure and high intensity he will need to knock out Alexander Usyk, because for me, that's his only way of winning. We've seen that he can't outbox Usyk, so he needs to knock out Usyk. But if Joshua comes in any heavier than he was in the first match, it's going to be difficult because, he was gassing in the first fight and he was 240. So I feel like just coming in a little bit lighter but being a lot more aggressive is the way Joshua needs to go about it. Now, I think Anthony Joshua needs to try and fight this fight in mid-range and close range, but obviously don't be so stuck on fighting the fight at one particular distance. You obviously need to mix it up. Joshua, for a heavyweight, for someone who is 6'6" and has an 82-inch reach, has tremendous combination punches. I mean, if you see his knockdown against Andy Ruiz Jr. in the first fight, that uppercut hook, it was very crisp, very clean, and it was very fast from Anthony Joshua. If you see Anthony Joshua's knockout against Alexander Povetkin, very, very quick punches and bunches, which laid his opponent out. I think for that Alexander Povetkin fight, it was uppercut, hook, and then a straight right that made it night for Alexander Povetkin. I mean, there's no recovering if Joshua is able to land those type of punches, in the pocket. But obviously, majority of the fight will not be fought within close range. But, when Joshua's clinching, when Joshua's trying to come in and close the distance against Usyk, I think he needs to start with the uppercut. The uppercut is probably his most dangerous punch alongside his left hook. The great thing about the uppercut is often your opponent doesn't see it coming. So for Anthony Joshua, it's get that uppercut off, get on the inside of Alexander Usyk. It's very difficult to pin him down because Usyk's lateral movement is very, very good. But yeah, the first thing for Anthony Joshua is doing good work on the inside, getting his uppercut off and his hook off, trying to close the distance between him and Usyk, and getting within mid to close range of Usyk. That's what he's going to have to do. Next thing for Anthony Joshua, in general, he's going to have to load up on some of his punches and he's going to have to take risks because he will be open to counters. But Joshua's going to have to risk getting knocked out in this fight, similar to what we saw from Deontay Wilder in the Tyson Fury fight. You know, after a few rounds, Deontay Wilder kind of abandoned his strategy of going to the body, and he tried to slug it out with Tyson Fury, and he went back and forth with Fury, and it backfired, and he got knocked out. But, you know, within that fight, he probably had more success, a lot more than he did in the second fight, and, you know, he knocked Fury down twice in one of the rounds. So you could argue, you know, his third fight against Fury was probably slightly better than his first fight against Fury. Slightly. It's up for debate. Joshua is just going to have to show heart. There's no other way to it. I know some people have said, no, Joshua can't load up on his punches. So what do you want Anthony Joshua to do? Do you expect him to stay on the outside and try to jab Usyk? I'm not saying come in like a headless chicken, but he can't be so patient and so methodical. He has to be a little bit more aggressive. And when he believes he is in range, you need to throw a big shot. Load up on your punches. Don't just punch at the target, but literally try to punch through the target. Remember when Anthony Joshua caught Vladimir Klitschko with that uppercut? It's almost like he took Klitschko's head off. That night, he punched through Klitschko's head. He didn't just punch at Klitschko's head. He's going to need to do that to Alexander Usyk. Not just punch at him, punch through him. You know, he's going to have to load up on his punches in order to punch through Usyk. None of this trying to tag him or trying to touch him, you know, fighting on the outside with the jab. No, you're going to have to throw less jabs and throw more power punches. Anthony Joshua is going to have to come strong very early on. For me, the best bet for Joshua in winning this fight is getting Usyk out there, you know, early to mid rounds. The longer the fight goes on, the more I feel like it favors Usyk because, you know, regardless of what weight Joshua comes at, I just feel like Usyk's conditioning will be better than Anthony Joshua. So for me, AJ, you know, we best hope that Robert Garcia is instilling in AJ the urgency and the need to get his opponent out quick and early. You don't get paid for overtime. This doesn't need to be a long fight. It doesn't need to go 10, 11, 12 rounds. It could only go 4, 5, or 6. You don't want Usyk to establish his rhythm because once Usyk starts moving his head off the center line, hitting you with backhands, moving laterally, you know, it's just going to be sensory overload for Anthony Joshua. He's not only going to be physically fatigued, but he's going to be mentally fatigued. So go out there with the intention to get Usyk out very, very early. And again, it doesn't mean come in there like a headless chicken. You need to have, you know, brains about this operation. But by round 2, by round 3, you should be starting to land power punches, starting to hurt Usyk, trying to stun Usyk. Because Anthony Joshua, you know, he really marked up Usyk's face in the first fight without really landing any concussive punches. Imagine if Joshua is able to get 2, 3, 4 shots in on the inside against Usyk. He could drop Usyk. He could really hurt him, though he could get dropped himself. Another thing Anthony Joshua needs to do is go to the body. Usyk has shown a relatively good chin. You know, in terms of his chin, I haven't seen him actually get hurt to that area. But where Usyk has shown vulnerabilities is to the body. This guy has gone down to, you know, relatively light shots to the body. So, Joshua's going to have to deceive Usyk. One of my favorite moves is when a fighter jabs to the head or makes it look like he's going to jab to the head and then he comes down to the body. Because of Usyk's height, it's going to be a little bit difficult for Anthony Joshua to get right hands and hooks to the body. So the best bet is to, when you are on the outside, feint to go to the head and then come down to the body and then come back up real quick. You don't want to leave your head in a vulnerable position. You want to come back up, have your hands up in a good position to block Usyk's counter. And the last thing I feel like Anthony Joshua must implement in this rematch against Usyk is the dirty art. You know, using dirty tactics such as clinching, because that's really going to help him get that uppercut off. if they're in the clinch and then Joshua comes and throws punches in the clinch, he's throwing to Usyk's body. You can take the wind out of Usyk in those. It's those subtle things that can really break down Usyk. Put your body weight on Usyk. You're bigger than him. Lean on him. Make him tired. Make him frustrated. Don't let him settle. AJ's going to need to put his body weight on Usyk, and when he is in the clinch, he's going to have to essentially throw punches to the body. You see fighters do this all the time when they're in the clinch. They're throwing punches to their opponent's body. So that is one way Anthony Joshua can essentially get hooks on against Usyk, is throwing those punches to the body when they're clinching. Now for Alexander Usyk, he's coming heavier, or he looks heavier. I haven't actually, the weigh-in hasn't happened yet, so apologies for that. But Amir Khan has said that Usyk is heavier, that he's gained weight, and I'm going to assume that Amir Khan is being truthful. So if Usyk is coming in heavier, he's probably not going to try and box Joshua the whole fight. And, that's reasonable because, Joshua will not be willing to box Usyk on the outside for the entirety of the fight. He's going to try and cause problems up close with Usyk. And for that reason, I think Usyk, for the first round or two, he should box Joshua. He should try to survive the first few rounds. You've got better conditioning than AJ, so let him gas himself out. Then you need to start countering Anthony Joshua. Joshua will be desperate to get Usyk out of there. And he will be using a lot of energy. It takes a lot out of you. Trying to load up on punches, fighting on the inside, being as explosive and as muscular as AJ is. That's going to zap a lot of energy. So he's probably not going to be able to recover and get in within a good defensive position to block shots and have good defense. So make sure you're moving laterally and finding angles, and you're countering Anthony Joshua. Don't come straight at him. Don't force the knockout. Once you've stunned Anthony Joshua, because I believe Usyk can stun Anthony Joshua, then you start pushing for the knockout. I do believe that, both fighters will be stunned in this fight. I can see Usyk countering AJ retreating on the back foot, and that's Usyk's chance. Once you see Joshua is hurt, don't let him off the hook. Step up the pace and try to get a straight left. We know that Usyk's straight left can land numerous times on Anthony Joshua, so try to get that punch off. And in the mid-rounds, really step it up and pressure Anthony Joshua. Use your lateral movement like you did in the first fight. Move your head off the center line, because you don't want to be a sitting duck for a big punch from Anthony Joshua, a big left hook or a big uppercut. Constantly be moving your head on the center line, so he's wary of you, and that he's unable to really close the distance and get on the inside, because he's not comfortable with pinning you down, because he doesn't believe, I can get shots off in the inside, because you're constantly moving laterally and your head is moving off the center line. That's what Usyk is very good at. So I don't think Usyk should sit on the inside and try to bang with Anthony Joshua. No, that would be silly. The first 1, 2, 3 rounds, move around the ring, move laterally, try to counter Anthony Joshua. Once you've hurt Joshua from one of those counters, then pressure Anthony Joshua and don't let him recover. Go after him the rest of the round. Be more aggressive once you've seen visibly that AJ's hurt. Don't let him off the hook. Usyk almost stopped Anthony Joshua in the last fight. Perhaps if he had more time in the last round, he could have stopped AJ. And that all came from when AJ was on the ropes, because Usyk hurt Anthony Joshua. So do that again. With Anthony Joshua being so aggressive, or, at least that's what I believe he'll be like in this fight, he's bound to miss. He will make a mistake. Make him pay. Make him suffer. You've got to counter him. And then once you've countered him, don't let him off. It's as simple for that for Alexander Usyk. Now, if AJ miraculously decides to box again, Usyk can outbox him. And although I suspect it'd be harder trying to box him this time because of the increase in weight I believe Usyk will have, according to Amir Khan's information, I believe if, they were getting in another boxing match, obviously Usyk would win because he won last time comfortably. So hopefully, if I was Usyk, I would have brought in guys into my camp who would be pressuring me, and I'm just trying to move around the ring and land counters on them. Practice your counter, your pull counter. Make sure you get your distance right and your timing right, because you can catch Joshua coming on the way in. So for me, there has to be a big emphasis on counter punching for Usyk in this fight. I know he's not an out-and-out counter puncher. He's more of a boxer, mover. He likes to jab. He likes to change levels as well. But I feel like in this fight, countering is his best bet, because we all believe that Anthony Joshua is going to be a lot more aggressive. And if Joshua is trying to be aggressive, just time him coming in. Once you've timed him, then pressure him, because as most people believe, you know, the knockout loss to Andy Ruiz has taken a little bit out of Anthony Joshua's punch resistance. He isn't super chinny. I don't agree with people who say Joshua's got no chin, but at this point in his career, he doesn't have a granite chin. So again, Usyk should try to box AJ in spots, but really look for the counter and pressure AJ. Change levels, go to the head, go down to the body. And the only time you should really try to be loading up on punches and rallying up punches is when you feel like AJ's hurt from a shot that you caught him with, sorry. So I don't think Usyk needs to do much different from the first fight. The only thing is, when AJ is hurt, just put him under a little bit more pressure and don't let him off the hook. Other than that, Usyk's got the lateral movement. He's smart. He can change levels. He's got various punches he can use to keep AJ guessing. Throw some hooks, throw some uppercuts, because Joshua won't be expecting that. Joshua will be expecting jabs and backhand shots, but he won't anticipate a lot of uppercuts and a lot of hooks. So if at times you can just vary your punches, Joshua might not see a punch coming from a certain angle, and he can hurt Joshua. So, guys, that was my keys to victory for both fighters, or what I feel like both fighters essentially should implement, which I guess is a keys to victory. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Who do you guys seeing winning this fight? Do you think Usyk defends his belts, or do you see Anthony Joshua getting revenge against Usyk? I'm not going to count out Anthony Joshua totally. It wouldn't be beyond belief to see Joshua beat and even knock out Usyk. I think people forget, the times he beat Vladimir Klitschko. And Joshua was really rushed to the top. When you look at him, he put him in against Dylan White, and, he stepped up opposition very quickly in comparison to the likes of Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Obviously at this stage of his career, he's no novice, he's very experienced. There's no time for learning fights. But most people have Usyk as their favorite going into this fight. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Good luck to both fighters. I hope they put on a great performance. I do think both fighters will get knocked down. That's what I see happening. I think a knockout is in this fight as well. I don't see this fight going the distance this time. One of these guys, I believe, will get knocked out. And as I said, I believe both fighters will be knocked down. It's just who recovers better and who wants it a little bit more than the other. Alright guys, peace.